No, I can. Oh, perfect. Okay. Okay. Well, very good. Okay, let's jump right in. First of all, I just want to say that this morning's class is where the learning that we're going to do this morning is in the merit of Yitzchak Yechiel ben Shemuel, who is was the beloved father of Lynn Bright, also known as Malka, and his yard site was on the 21st of Tevet, was just last week. So the learning should be for him an Elias and a Shama, and it should be in the nachas that he gets from Lynn and from all the learning that we do should be a merit for him. Okay, so last week, just a quick review of where we left off last week. So we were talking last week about this idea that our positive words, our positive thoughts, our positive actions not only have an impact on us and not only elevate our own, status and spiritual level and level of connection to Hashem, but also in addition, it has the added effect of elevating, bringing up all of existence, everything that exists, all of creation as well. So we human beings are very powerful in that way. Only human beings have that quality that we can literally affect everybody and everything in the whole world and everything in it. The same is true, obviously, with our negative thoughts and negative words and negative actions. They don't only impact us and bring us down into a lower space, but they also diminish or lower the entire universe and everything in it. And the idea is that an Adam, a human being, is an olam katan, a microcosm, a small universe, a microcosm of the universe. And everything, then the Ramchal said that everything that we use, everything that a human being uses in their effort to serve Hashem, in their effort to come closer to Hashem, in their effort to, do mitzvahs and to be more spiritual, every item, every object, everything that they use in that endeavor, actually, that thing that they use gets an elevation as well. It's spiritual. It reaches it. It has a spiritual. Let's call it a tikkun. It reaches its potential. And the example that he gave, the example that we saw last week from the Ramchal, was the light. The light, the original hidden light, the light that shone for 36 hours in the beginning of creation. And then God recognized, he realized that light was going to be used by everybody, and that there were going to be people in the world that were not going to be righteous. So God took that light and he hid it. He concealed it for the righteous people. So only the righteous people would be able to have access to that light. We spoke about the way to access that light is through Torah learning. And the light itself was joyous. The light rejoiced. What does it mean that the light rejoiced? It means on this spiritual level, the light had an elevation or a tikkun, because it realized that it was going to be used purely for spiritual connection. Okay, so that was this idea that we were really kind of going over last week. Now, I want to go a little bit further. So if you open up your book, I believe we're on page 30. And the Ramchal gives another example of this very idea. Another example of how utilizing a tzaddik, a righteous person, and it doesn't mean some incredible, amazing, perfect, holy person. It means anybody who's striving, anyone who's trying, anyone who's investing in their relationship with Hashem. When that person, when he or she uses something for their avoda, that thing is elevated. Remember last week we spoke about the cholent, we spoke about the herring. There's a lot of herring swimming around in the ocean, and very percentage-wise, very few of them end up, being served at a kiddush in a shul on Shabbos morning. So the one lucky herring that ends up, at the kiddush and shul on Shabbos morning is the fortunate one, because every other herring is just, either getting eaten by other animals or either eaten by other fish or being served in some significant situation. But the herring that gets eaten on Shabbos, that herring, that fish, that spark of holiness is elevated inside of the fish. And then we gave all these other examples. Now the Ramchal gives one more example on page 30. Two examples, actually. Okay, so this is similar to what our sages of blessed memory said regarding the light. Oh, we did that one. Sorry. A little bit further down. Similarly, we're still on page 30, halfway down the page where the first word of the line is similarly. Regarding the stones of the place that Yaakov took and set under his head. You remember this story? That Yaakov was heading, he was fleeing, and he passed the holy temple, the place where the holy temple would be, and he slept that night, and he took several stones, actually 12 stones, and he placed them around his head. And then in the verse says that when he went to sleep, he placed the stones around his head. And when he woke up in the morning, it uses the same word, but it says it in the singular. It doesn't say stones any longer. It says stone. And the Gemara talks about it and says that basically what happened is that the stones started fighting over who was going to be the one stone that was going to be fortunate enough to have the holy tzaddik, Jacob, resting his head upon that stone. So they started fighting, okay? And that's what the sages said, that Amar Rabbi Yitzchak said that this teaches us that all the stones that Yaakov placed around his head gathered into one place. Each one was saying, upon me shall the righteous one lay his head. Okay, so they were having a big argument. Obviously this is a big metaphor. This is not meant to be taken literally, but they were having a big argument over which one. And in the end, what happened was because they all wanted this same thing, they all wanted to be the one that Yaakov was going to rest his head on, they coalesced and they were able to all play that role. So this shows that that an object which is used to by a righteous person in his service of Hashem is elevated, and the sparks of holiness inside of that object are illuminated. Okay, so this is this idea that I want that the
David, I'm sorry, I can't help myself. Is that why we're called stiff-necked people? Sorry, bye.
Because you used a pillow for a rock. A rock for a pillow. That's pretty funny. Okay. There's a concept that I want to introduce you to. And I need you to enable me, make me a co so I can share my screen. Does that work or? Oh, there we go.
Sorry, I kept making myself a host, and I already was.
No, because we're both listed as the time center. I know.
Like, why is it working?
I saw that. Okay, fine. This is the concept that I wanted to introduce to you today. It's a very, very interesting idea. One that's like really, really fundamental to Judaism, and this is, I believe, this is at the very core of what the Ramchal is getting at over here. It's based on a verse in Mishlei. Mishlei is Proverbs. Proverbs was written by King Solomon. And in this verse, in chapter 3 of Mishlei, verse number 6, he says, "B'chol derachecha do'ehu, v'hu yasher orchosech." In all your ways, I want to focus on the first part of this sentence. In all your ways, acknowledge him. Okay, in all your ways, know God. And what does this mean? What is this concept? In all of your ways, you shall know God. So the basic idea here is that what Judaism hopes for from us, or what it ultimately requires from us, is that everything we do, and when I say everything, I mean even the most mundane things that we do, even the most physical, pedestrian things that we do in our lives that we have to do because we're human, eating, drinking, sleeping, procreating, all these things, we have the opportunity to do them in a way where we're doing them in order to know Hashem better. We're doing them in order to come closer to Hashem. We're doing them in order to serve Hashem. That's what this idea is. And the Rambam, Maimonides, he explains this in great detail over here in chapter 3 of his laws of character traits. So let's just read it. I put a translation over here. We can read some of the Rambam. We don't have to read it all, but we'll get a feel for what this idea is. So the Rambam starts off and he says, a person should direct his heart and the totality of his behavior to one goal, becoming aware of God. Blessed be he. Okay? So everything we're doing in life, everything we do as a Jew, it's all about becoming more, deepening our awareness of Hashem. The way he rests, the way he rises, the way he speaks should all be directed to this end. For example, when involved in business dealings, or while working for a wage, he should not think solely of gathering money. Rather, he should do these things so that he will be able to obtain that which his body needs: food, drink, and a home and a wife. Okay. Similarly, when he eats, drinks, and engages in intimate relations, he should not intend to do these things solely for pleasure, to the point where he will eat and drink only that which is sweet to the palate and engage in intercourse for pleasure. Sorry, this is a little crude, but rather he should take care to eat and drink only in order to be healthy in body and in limb. Therefore, he should not eat all that the palate desires, like a dog or a donkey. Rather, he should eat that which is beneficial for the body, be it bitter or sweet. Conversely, he should not eat what is harmful to the body, even though it is sweet to the palate. Okay, so what's the Rambam talking about over here? He's talking about the way we deal with our physical needs. And this is what we've been talking about now for weeks, the way we approach our physical needs and our physical drives as a Jew is all about, I'm going to highlight these two words by my little spotlight. So that. Okay, you see that? So that, meaning everything I do, I'm not just doing it because it feels good, or because it tastes good, or because I'm hungry, or I'm tired, or I have some desire. I'm doing all my physical things that I do, I'm doing so that. You always have to be able to answer that question as a Jew. Why am I sleeping now? So that I'll wake up in the morning with more energy so I can do mitzvahs and learn Torah and serve Hashem and do chesed. Why am I eating this food right now? So that I will be healthy and strong and have energy to so on and so forth. Okay. So this is the idea of oh, that's annoying. So this is the idea that the Rambam is talking about over here. Let's just continue. He should have the intent that his body be whole and strong in order, okay, that's so that, for his inner soul to be upright, so that it will be able to know God. Okay? Because if I'm tired, or if I'm sick, or if I'm malnourished, or if I'm whatever, then I'm not going to be able to, my soul won't be able to focus on its purpose and its mission of further knowing God. For it's impossible to understand and become knowledgeable in the wisdoms when one is starving or sick, or when his limbs pain him. Thus, whoever walks in such a path all his days will be serving God constantly. Meaning, you're serving God not just when you're in shul davening, or when you're learning Torah, or when you're doing chesed, or when you're doing a mitzvah, but you're also serving God when you're eating, or when you're sleeping, or when you're having intimate relations, because you're doing those things so that you can become closer to Hashem. Even in the midst of his business dealings, even during intercourse, for his intent in all matters is to fulfill his needs so that his body be whole to serve God. Even when he sleeps, if he retires with the intention that his mind and body rest, lest he take ill and be unable to serve God because he's sick, then his sleep is service to Hashem. Okay. On this matter, our sages have directed us and said, and he quotes our verse from Proverbs, and all your deeds should be for the sake of heaven. This is what King Solomon declared in his wisdom. Know him in all your ways, and he will strengthen your paths. Okay? Know him in all your ways. Let's just see that verse again in the beginning. In all your ways, know him. It's a tremendous idea. It's a tremendous idea. So before we go on, I just want to give people a chance to digest that idea. Maybe we can throw out a few examples. Maybe we can share some personal experiences or some thoughts on that just for a few minutes, just to make sure that we're really taking in that idea, because it's a really, really powerful and fundamental idea in Judaism. And it's what the Ramchal is telling us over here. And just to add one little piece to it, when I'm doing that, when I'm sleeping so that I can wake up in the morning energized to do chesed or to learn Torah, to do mitzvahs, then my pillow and my mattress and my blanket are elevated, because those are the physical objects that I use, and my pajamas and my, earplugs or whatever I use to sleep, and my CPAP machine or my, or my whatever, all those things are there to help me. If I'm using those things to help me sleep better, so that then those items become elevated. The spark of holiness in those things become uplifted. And if I'm using a down pillow, then the duck who provided the feathers for my down pillow so that I could get a good night's sleep, so that I could wake up in the morning to go to shul and daven and give tzedakah and do chesed, that, a lot of ducks don't end up in pillows of people that are using their pillows to get good rest so that they can serve Hashem better. So that's what I'm talking about. That's how this whole system works. Okay, so let's open it up a little bit and try to, bring this in into some practical examples and reality. Anybody?
David, I think
Yeah.
I'd have to put my computer then at the top of that list, because I use it to do a lot of research.
Absolutely. Yes. And by the way, I want to add to that it's important to use your computer for good things, because there are a lot of bad things that you can use your computer for too, right? And if you use your computer for bad things, then you're not doing your computer any favors, right? But yeah, using your computer is a huge example. Like right now, whatever device you're on, you're using your device, your iPad, your phone, your computer to learn Torah. It's incredible. Yeah. What else?
Can I count my cup of coffee I'm about to go get so I stop yawning and I can pay more attention to class?
Absolutely. The beans that grew on that tree, so that you could be more awake to internalize your learning. Of course, absolutely. Go get a coffee. Okay. I'm drinking tea because it's already too late for me to drink coffee. It's almost 6. Okay. Fine. So let's just review. So everything in the world exists to help you and me serve Hashem. Those things become elevated. That's our purpose in this world, to connect to Hashem, to deepen our awareness of Hashem. Everything that you do should be for the purpose of a deeper awareness, a deeper understanding, a deeper connection to Hashem. By the way, the word that King Solomon uses over there, da'ehu, is the word da'as, which means intimate understanding. It's the same word that says Adam knew his wife, right? It's the word that the Torah uses euphemistically for intimacy, right? So when King Solomon says, in everything you know, everything you do, know Hashem, it means intimate knowledge of Hashem. It doesn't just mean knowing, it means connection, okay? So, and that's our purpose. That's what Hashem put us here for. And remember, he gave us a soul, and the soul is the very highest thing in existence in all of creation. There's nothing higher than the soul. It was the very first thing in all of the order of creation. Before Hashem created anything, he created the soul of mankind, and he gave us a body. And the body was the very last thing in the entire creation. The lowest thing that existed in the entire order of creation was the human body. And everything else is in between. So when somebody uses an item, an object, anything, l'shem nishmati, for the purpose of my neshama, I'm drinking my coffee so that I can understand and be more focused, so that I can do more mitzvahs and learn wisdom and learn Torah, then what happens? So the object jumps up in the order of creation. It gets pulled up to the front of the line because it's being used l'shem nishmato, for the purpose of his neshama. And if I use something for the purpose of my body, l'shem aguf, for the purpose of my body, then that item, that object, whatever it is, in the natural order where it exists in the natural order of creation, gets brought down in the order of creation to the bottom because it's being used to serve my goof, my body. Okay. Now let's continue in the Ramchal, page 31. Ramchal now cites a proof to the principle that because the world was created for man's use, it stands in balance based on man's actions. The sages of blessed memory informed us about this principle in Medrash Koheles. Okay, for they say as follows: observe God's deeds, for who can straighten that which was twisted? What does it mean? It means, it teaches that when the Holy One, blessed be he, created the first man, that means when Hashem created Adam, he took him and he led him around all the trees of the Garden of Eden. And he said to Adam, see my deeds. Hashem is speaking. Look what I created. Look at this beautiful world. Look at this beautiful garden. Look how magnificent it is. How nice and praiseworthy they are. And that everything that I created, all that I created for you. I created all of this for you. Now take care that you not degrade it and destroy my world. Okay? So there's so much there, right? I created all of this for you to enjoy, for you to participate in, for you to benefit from. Use it all. Go see the Alps if you haven't seen them, right? Taste that delicious fruit if you've never tasted it. Enjoy it. Judaism doesn't believe in holding back from pleasure and from tasting and enjoying pleasure. Self-control in Judaism is not about avoiding pleasure. Judaism has a totally different take on what self-control is all about. Enjoy the pleasures of life, the physical pleasures. Use them. Hashem says, look at all this that I gave you, how nice it is, how beautiful it is. Look at all these trees. Look at this garden. Everything I created it for you. Enjoy it. Enjoy the delicious wine because it's incredible. Eat the good food, but do it to connect to Hashem. How? Eat kosher. Drink kosher wine. Eat kosher food. Make a bracha on it if you can. Eat special food on Shabbos because it's holy and it's kosher and it's Shabbos. Okay? Enjoy intimacy, sexual intimacy, but do it in the right way. Do it with your spouse at the right time to build connection, not just to gratify your physical drives. Okay? Look at this beautiful world that I created. I created it all for you. Enjoy it. Take pleasure in it, but be careful. Don't ruin it. Don't ruin it. How do I ruin it? How do I ruin something in this world? By using it just for my body. Just l'shem haguf shali. When I use it just for my body, it lowers that thing. It diminishes that thing. And everything I created for you to do what with it? To elevate it. To bring it to its tikkun. To allow the spark of holiness that exists inside of every object and every inanimate object and every animal and every blade of grass. Use that and elevate it and illuminate the spark of holiness in it by using it to serve me. Okay, so that's a really, really beautiful medrash that the Ramchal is talking about over here. Second over here. Oh yeah. So that's something very interesting. I haven't told you about this yet, but this book that we're studying, this book called The Path of the Just, there's actually two versions of it. Two versions of it. There's this one that everybody reads and everybody learns and everybody studies, the popular one. But the Ramchal wrote, before he wrote this, he wrote a different version of this book. And it's called the Mesilas Yesharim, The Path of the Just, Seder HaVikuach, in argument form. So it's essentially the same book. The principles, the ideas, the concepts, what he writes, what he teaches is all almost identical. It's all almost exactly the same. It's just the format he uses is different in that version, in that first version. By the way, that first version, it didn't exist. It wasn't extant. Nobody knew where it was. No one had their fingers on it. No one had seen it. We knew it, he had written it because he references it, but no one had set eyes on it for a long time, for hundreds of years. And then I don't know when, but maybe like 30 or 40 years ago, they found somewhere in a Geniza a manuscript of the original version of the Seder HaVikuach, the Mesilas Yesharim, The Path of the Just, in argument form. And it was so illuminating because the reason why it's so helpful is because it reads like a conversation, which was a popular style back then of the way the philosophers would write. It read, Jewish philosophers at least, it read like a conversation between a chacham and a chassid, a wise man and a pious man, a righteous man. And it's a question and an answer. It's a dialogue. So the chassid, the pious man, is answering the questions. And everything we have in our version of the book are the answers to the questions that the wise person was asking the pious person. Now, the reason why it's so helpful, and I have a copy of it right here, I don't think it exists in English. I've never seen it in English. Somebody should really translate it, but I have the copy right here in Hebrew, and I keep it on my desk because, and I use it when I'm preparing this class. And the reason why it's so helpful is because what you get from it is you get the question behind what the Ramchal is saying. When we read our version, it just looks like the Ramchal is making points and he's saying things. But when you read the other version, what you understand is that there was a question behind what he's saying. There was an inquiry behind what he was saying. And sometimes when you read the question behind what he's saying, it gives you a whole other insight into what he's saying and why he's saying it, what he's responding to. So it's really, really interesting. So in this Seder HaVikuach version, in the argument version, he makes a point over there that he does not make in this version. And I want to share that with you because it's a whole really fascinating point. It's on our topic, but it doesn't show up in our version. It didn't make it into the the popular version of the Path of the Just. It's only in the original argumentation version. So what's the idea? The idea is here. You can look on the screen. There's a verse in Genesis, in Bereshit, and it's Aleph, chapter 1, verse 31. Okay, it's a famous verse because we say it in Kiddush. Part of it, we say part of it in Kiddush Friday night. The first says like this: "Vayar," it is at the end of creation, at the very end. It's the last thing of creation. So day 6, and Hashem is creating man, and he's finished creating man, and it's all done. He's completed everything. He's completed all of creation, everything. And he says like this. The verse says, "Vayar Elokim es kol asher asa," and God looked and he saw all that he made. V'hinei tov ma'od. It was very good. And then these words, Vayi erev, vayi voker. And this is similar to what it says every day. And it was evening and it was morning. We see that on each of the 6 days. And then these 2 words, Yom HaShishi, the 6th day. Now, every other day in creation, it summarizes the day at the end. And it says, Vahi Erev, Vahi Boker, and it was evening, and it was morning. Yom Sheni, day 2. Yom Shlishi, day 3. Yom Revi'i, day 4. Yom Chamishi, day 5. It doesn't say the first day, the second day, the fourth day, the 5th day. The word the is not there. Only on the last day does it say Vayi Erev, Vayi Boker. It was evening, it was morning. Yom Ha-Shishi. Ha in Hebrew, the letter Hey, before a word means it's the definitive object, it means the. So Yom Ha-Shishi, it was the 6th day. And of course, Rashi is not going to not pick up on that. So Rashi's like, that's weird. Why is it that on every other day, it didn't say Yom Ha-Chamishi, Yom Ha-Revi'i, the 5th day, the 4th day. It just said Yom Chamishi, day 5, Yom Revi'i, day 4. And all of a sudden, when it comes to day 6, it says Yom Ha-Shishi, the 6th day. Almost as if it's referring to another day 6 somewhere, the famous, the one and only day 6. So what is he talking about? So Rashi says, quoting from the Talmud, Davar Acher, Yom Ha-Shishi, what does it mean, the 6th day? Kulam teluyim va'omdim ad Yom Ha-Shishi. Everything that God created until this moment, everything, the vegetation, the heavenly bodies, the animals, the fish, the birds, everything that God created, he created conditionally, on condition that what? That on the 6th day, what is the 6th day a reference to? The 6th day of the month of Sivan, the day that the Jewish people received the Torah at Mount Sinai, that the Jewish people would say, Nasa v'nishma, that the Jewish people would accept the Torah at Mount Sinai. Meaning everything else Hashem created was created conditionally. You guys are good. You're going to be around. You're going to stick around. But you're only going to be around until the 6th of Sivan, on that day when I offer the Jewish people the Torah. If the Jewish people accept the Torah, then you continue to exist forever. But if the Jewish people say thanks, but no thanks, we don't want the Torah, we're not interested in the Torah, then automatically, instantaneously, everything that has been created in creation and existence until that moment, gone. It will cease to exist. That's how Hashem created the world. That's all hinted to in that extra letter, Hey, Yom Ha-Shishi, referencing the famous 6th day, the well-known 6th day, the 6th day of Sivan. Everything Hashem created, he created on condition that the Jewish people will receive the Torah. And if they do, wonderful, you continue to exist. If not, goodbye sun, goodbye moon, goodbye trees, goodbye grass, goodbye plants, goodbye animals, birds, fish, everything. And the question, of course, is why? Why is it? Why does Hashem have to destroy, if the Jewish people don't accept the Torah, then everything's gone. Why is it? Right? Actually, there are a lot of options Hashem had at that point. Right? Let's say the Jewish people don't accept the Torah. He could have he could have fired them, Okay, nice try, good experiment. Goodbye, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, offspring, Moses, whatever. He failed. I'll find somebody else. Right? He could have found somebody else, could have found another nation, or there could have just not been a Jewish people, whatever. But why does he have to destroy the whole world? Why does everything have to go if the Jewish people don't receive the Torah? And that's what the Ramchal asks. That's the background question to what we've been learning until now. And the answer is what we have in our book, which is that because everything that exists in creation exists for the purpose of helping that righteous person draw closer to Hashem. How do I draw closer to Hashem if I don't have a Torah, an instruction book on how to build that relationship and how to develop that connection? That's what the Torah is. So without a Torah, I have no ability. Human beings do not have the ability to draw close to Hashem, to serve Hashem, to connect to Hashem, because I don't know how. I can't make it up. I wouldn't know that if I wear a garment with wool and linen in it, that it's going to somehow affect my relationship with Hashem negatively. I wouldn't know that if I eat this animal, it's going to help my relationship with Hashem. And if I eat this animal, it's going to be bad for my relationship with Hashem. I wouldn't know any of these things. I wouldn't know that on this day I have to rest and on this day I can work. I need the Torah to tell me how to create, develop, build, nurture the relationship with Hashem. So if there's no Torah, then there's no possibility of connection to Hashem. Well, if everything that exists in the universe exists for one purpose and one purpose only, which is to help people connect to Hashem, and if now that the Torah has been declined, there's no ability to connect to Hashem, then everything else that exists in creation no longer has any purpose, because there's no longer people that are going to be able to draw close and connect to Hashem. So if that's the case, they have no purpose, they don't exist anymore. They cease to exist. They're gone. Goodbye. It's not because they're bad or because Hashem wants to destroy them or he's angry. They just don't have a purpose anymore. The purpose of the grass, the purpose of the sun, the purpose of the bird, the purpose of the fish. It's all there, everything. Like Hashem said in the Medrash over here, look at everything I created. How nice and amazing it is. All that I created for you. To elevate, to use, to draw close to me, to use to build a relationship with me. That's what everything exists for. Some things by enjoying them, some things by choosing not to enjoy them. But everything is there for me and you to connect. But once there's no Torah to tell me how to do that, then those things no longer have a purpose. And they're gone. They just cease to exist. They disappear. There's another example that he gives. And it says, this is a little bit further in Genesis, in the next chapter. Eila told us Hashemayim ba'aretz b'hi baram. This is the story of heaven and earth when they were created. Now, if you look at the word b'hi baram, it's spelled with a little tiny hey. Okay, what does the Medrash say? The Medrash says, Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha b'hi baram. That word in their being, when they were created, is the exact same word as be'avraham. So you can read this. These are the generations. These are the stories of heaven and earth. Be'avraham, b'schuto shel Avraham. In the merit of Avraham, everything was created. In the merit of Abraham, Hashem created the heavens and the earth. What does that mean? Again, Abraham means the Jewish people. Abraham means that the Jewish people come into existence. The Jewish people means that there's a Torah, that they're going to receive a Torah. The Torah means that it's now possible for a human being to have a relationship and a connection with Hashem. Once it's possible for a human being to have a relationship and a connection with Hashem, now it makes sense to have fish and birds and animals and trees and flowers and the sun and the moon and everything else. But without Abraham, without an Abraham, without a Jewish people, without the Torah, then there's no point for any of these things to continue to exist. Okay, so that is the unbelievable idea, this background over here.
David, would you entertain a question here?
Sure.
So, just in the spirit of Abraham, let's say that they said, "Are you going to destroy everything you've created because we don't have unanimity among the Jewish people? How about if I give you 100, or if I give you 10 people that would you give us the a Torah? Why would you destroy all of us when there are some of us that will cling to you? Couldn't that same argument have been made?
Possibly. I mean, but ultimately what had to happen was the Jewish people had to accept the Torah. I don't know how many of them had to accept it. I don't know what percentage had, was required to cross the threshold, but there needed to be enough of a universal acceptance by the Jewish people to accept the Torah, universal agreement to accept the Torah, that Hashem felt that this was actually going to work, and it was going to happen, and Jewish people were going to accept the Torah and live it and manifest it in the world. I want to. There's a lot more I wanted to say, but I'm going to skip it. We'll get to it next week. But I wanted to share with you something that I said in shul. I spoke in shul. It was Joseph's actual bar mitzvah this Shabbos, and I wanted to, because of what I spoke about very much relates to this idea. And the idea over here is that really, like, we have to understand, we have to appreciate that that this is what the struggle of life is all about. That we're here to serve Hashem, and we're here to wake up every day and do our very best. And that's it. We just have to keep growing. The Vilna Gaon says, he says a famous quote, Kulanu o olim o yardim. All of us, we're all either going up or going down. There's no stasis. There's no status quo. Every minute, every day, every week, every month, we're either going up or we're going down. We'll talk a little bit next week about how to know if you're going up or going down, how to check in with yourself, some questions you can ask yourself, how to know if you're going up or you're going down. But the reality is we go up and we go down. We're not always going up. We hope to be going up, if you chart, if you pick your favorite stock that you've invested in, you don't expect it to go up every single day. It'll go down and then it'll go up a little more and go down and go up and go. Hopefully you look at it over a 6-month period of time or a 1-year period of time, and there's a basic arrow going up, there's a basic line going up, but there are plenty of little dips in the way, along the way. That doesn't matter as long as it's generally going up over time. That's what we're shooting for. So I said to Yosef, I saw this in the beautiful Dvar Torah from Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson. So he basically, the idea is that first I told him and I spoke about this idea that what's such a big deal about a bar mitzvah? We make a big deal about a bar mitzvah. And I'm not talking about the parties and the DJs I'm talking about it's really a big deal. Spiritually, we make a big deal about it. But why? Yosef's been doing all the mitzvahs for a long time now. It's not like he one day, okay, now we're going to start doing the mitzvahs. He's been doing the mitzvahs all along. What changes? What's the real difference when a person has the bar mitzvah? So I told him that the Zohar says and explains that until a boy is 13 or a girl is 12, they are lacking what's called a neshama elyona, a higher soul. They have a lower soul. They have a nefesh bahamas. They have the physical soul, the soul that animates a person and gives them life. But they don't have, another way of calling it is a nefesh ruchanit. They don't have that spiritual soul yet. That doesn't come until they're 13. When a person reaches 13, a boy reaches 13 or a girl reaches 12, now enters into them a nefesh ruchanit, a spiritual soul. So now, only now can they be commanded to do the mitzvahs. Until now, they've been practicing, but they can't be expected to do mitzvahs until they have that spiritual quality, that spiritual element inside of them. And now they do. So now they can start doing mitzvahs. Now they can start practicing for real, doing mitzvahs. But here's what I said. I said, but you have to understand that part of being a human being is being in this war, the war that we've been talking about for the last 4 or 5 weeks, the war that the Ramchal has been describing to us in great detail for several weeks, the war of life, the war of the body, the soul, the war of spirituality versus physicality, the war of what my neshama wants versus, soon, of what my neshama wants versus what my body wants, right? That war, Yusuf just came in and asked if I wanted dinner. So it was perfect timing. I do want dinner, but first I got to finish teaching Torah. Okay. And last time I ate dinner during class, I spilled it on the computer. And my computer's still not working right. Okay, so it's that battle, the body soul battle. And I said to him, there's something that we can learn from our parsha about how to deal with that battle. So what's the idea from the parsha that we just read? So Moshe is out in the field. He's out in the wilderness, shepherding his father-in-law's flock. And he looks over and he notices a weird vision. What's the vision? The vision is Hashem inside of a bush. The bush is ablaze. The bush is on fire, but it's not being consumed. And he's perplexed because normally when you see something on fire, it's consumed. If you put wood in the fire in a certain amount of time, an hour or so, it'll be ash. So here's this bush. It's ablaze. It's on fire. It's lit up on fire, but the bush itself is not being consumed. And he's very perplexed by this. So he turns to move towards the bush, and Hashem says, stop. Take your shoes off. Shal na'alecha mi'al raglecha. Hold on. Ki hamakom asher ata omed alav admas kodeshu. The place that you are standing is holy ground. So what's the idea here? So the idea, this beautiful idea that I saw is that, in life, there are times when we're on fire. Those times you're super inspired. Something happened and your neshama is ablaze. Your neshama is on fire. You had a beautiful davening. You had a wonderful day. You did some chesed and you felt so connected to Hashem, or you learned some beautiful Torah and it inspired you and it uplifted you, and you're like, oh yes, I'm gonna start doing this, and I'm gonna start working harder at this, and I'm gonna take on this, and I'm gonna commit to this. You're on fire. Okay, and the next morning you wake up early, and I told Joseph, you get to shul early so you can put your tefillin on and be ready and say brachas and everything all ready to go. And you can't wait to get into the Shemona Esrei. You're a midah with this level of inspiration that you have. You're going to be so intimately connected to Hashem. And you take 3 steps backwards and you take 3 steps forward. And all of a sudden you start thinking about the food that you're going to eat for breakfast, and you're hungry. And you start thinking about, girls, or you start thinking about whatever you're going to start thinking about. Boom, you're gone, So what's going on? So what's going on is that we have fire, right? We have fire in our lives. We have moments of inspiration and clarity, but don't expect the fire to consume the thorns. We also have thorns. We have challenges. We have weaknesses, fears, anxieties, difficult character traits that we need to overcome. Stress, a desire to not work hard, a desire to not go beyond the comfort zone, a desire not to push ourselves. We have the thorns in our lives. And you know what? Those thorns are there. They're real. They're going to be with us. They're going to be a part of us. And don't expect the fire to consume the thorns. There'll be fire. There'll be inspiration. There'll be great moments. And that's awesome. And that's incredible. But there'll be moments where the thorns will take over too. And the anxiety and the weakness and the lethargy and all these negative midos and character traits will still be there. And just because you're inspired, just because your neshama is ablaze, don't expect the fire to consume the thorns. So what's the advice? The advice is what Hashem says to Moshe. He says, Moshe, know one thing. Hamakom asher ata omed alav admas kodeshu. The place where you are standing right now is holy. Why is it holy? Why is the place that you're standing right now holy? Because it's from that place that Hashem wants you to serve him. It's from that place that Hashem wants you to call out to him. So if you're not on the same level that you were yesterday, because you fell, you dropped, something happened, you had a rough day, and it's okay, and your stocks were going up, but it dropped a little bit, and that's okay. The new place that you're in now is the very place where Hashem wants you to serve him from. Don't give up hope. Don't be filled with despair. Don't think, well, I dropped. I'm not on the level where I was. I'm not who I was. I'm not as inspired as I was. I was so inspired and I lost that inspiration. That's okay. That's life. That's life. The thorns are there. The fire doesn't consume the thorns. So you had fire and then you had some thorns, and now you're not where you were when you had the fire. Now you're deep in the thorns. That's okay. The place that you're standing right now is the place where Hashem wants you to serve him from. Your new place. That's a holy place. That's holy, consecrated, hallowed ground, because that's where Hashem wants you to turn to him from that very spot, from that very place. And that's what the Ramchal has been telling us all along. Life is a battle. It's a shikul. We're always, in that struggle. We're always in that moment where we have to weigh things out and know which way to go. And we win some and we lose some, and that's okay. But we're moving forward in the battle of life. We're growing. So next week, we're going to talk a little about how to check in with yourself and find out, am I growing? Am I not growing? Am I on the right path? Am I not on the right path? But I just wanted to share that, what I shared with Yosef. That's it. We can take questions. We can have discussion. Anything anybody wants. Any questions, comments, thoughts?
Mazel tov to Yosef. Great what you shared on Facebook so we could see it. It was really beautiful and inspirational. And he was just such a proud young man up there davening. It's lovely. Thank you for sharing
Thanks,
that.
Julie. Thank you. Thank you. What I wish I could have shared what happened on Shabbos, but it was obviously Shabbos I could video, but he led the Kabbalat Shabbat, and all the guys in the show like flanked him. They just made a big circle around him, and he was doing like this Karlebach, and they were singing and dancing with him. It was awesome. It was so fun. It was so fun. I just want to say a special hello to Julian, because we haven't seen Julian for a long time. Very great to see you, Julian. And I'm glad you're doing well. And also Bonnie, because we haven't seen Bonnie for a while. So welcome back, Bonnie. We have a special community here of people who love to learn together. So it's very meaningful to me and to everybody. And again, class today should be an Elias and the Shama special elevation for Lynn's father, blessed memory. And please God, we'll continue to learn and grow. And just, even when the thorns are there, we still need to find the fire, put our souls ablaze. Susie.
Yeah, my question is something that you said at the beginning of the class, that Hashem said, take care that you not degrade and destroy my world. And the question is, why isn't the world Jewish community focusing on the destruction of our planet right now? Why aren't we raising up in arms and saying, bringing more awareness, bringing more protest, bringing more advocacy? It seems like we're not involved in this fight for the environment and against global warming. And I mean, yeah, individuals, of course, but not as a Jewish world. And this is part of this is what Hashem has created for us. Why are we not defending it better?
So you know who once asked that question? Jeff Cantor once asked that question. And I'll give you, remember Jeff? Remember asking that question? I'll give you the same answer that I gave Jeff, which is there's no good answer to that question. And you're absolutely right. That should definitely be a cause that the Jewish people are taking up and are focusing on. They're serious about it. I mean, like you said, some individuals are, but it's definitely not something that gets enough focus and enough attention. And it just takes, like everything, it just takes somebody to bring the awareness to the community at large and start getting more people behind it until it becomes a movement. But I mean, obviously there's a lot to deal with in the world. There's a lot to advocate for, but this is obvious, saving the planet and not destroying the universe that Hashem, the world that God gave us, you would think should be pretty high up there on the list of things that religious Jews should be advocating for.
Thank you.
Yeah. Looks like it's windy there today.
A little bit.
Beautiful.
80 and windy.
Yeah, around there.
That's nice. All right, I'm gonna go eat dinner if there's nothing else. See what Yo cooked up tonight. Smells good.
Why?
All right. Have a great day, everybody. Be well.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you,
Thank you, Rabbi David.
Excellent
Thank
session.
you. Hi, Shayna. How you feeling?
I'm good. How are you?
Are you better?
Yeah, doing better. Hi, Rabbi.
Hey, Carly, you're home? Because it's right. It's that time of year again.
I'm home for the rest of time. I'm so excited to be with both of my parents staying at home.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
I'm
How do you feel
teaching.
about that? How do you feel about that, Steve?
I think it's awesome.
I'm very excited.
When do you start charging her rent?
When she gets a paying job. Now she's just student teaching, so she doesn't have to pay rent yet.
Fair enough.
But it was great that your parents volunteered to have her come there 2 weeks a month.
Yeah. They're gonna move out and go to the Residence Inn so she can stay there.
That's good.
All right, awesome. Great to see everybody.
Send our love to everybody.
Okay, will do.
Yep.
Will do.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.